500,000 girls have been mass raped in this way, specifically being targeted because they were not of a particular religion or ethnicity. How many of them would have to be treated in this way for you to admit that it's a mass thing?
Rape isn't bad enough. Now it has to be like a mass grooming gang rape thing. And then what happens is you conservatives, you play this game where you falsely identify a problem, you lie to the audience about it, and then you manage to gain power. You go through with some wacky scheme. We can break down anything you want.
Stop interrupting.
Don't accuse me of having talking points.
Stop interrupting. Stop interrupting.
Then address what I said.
Stop interrupting.
Address what I said.
Stop interrupting.
Address what I've said.
Stop interrupting.
I believe in you.
Stop interrupting. Some respect for me and for my opportunity to express myself as well. That is how a debate is conducted. So stop interrupting.
We think over half the British population believes that the majority of the immigrants here today are here illegally, if they've got such a great handle on it or a great idea about what immigration is doing to the country.
The reason that people overestimate immigration...
All right, guys, so Destiny flies all the way to the UK to debate Konstantin Kisin on immigration. And what you're about to watch is genuinely one of the most brutal dismantlings I've seen in a while. Like, Konstantin comes prepared with actual facts, actual statistics, and Destiny? Dude, Destiny does what Destiny always does. He deflects, he interrupts, he tries to make it about everything except the actual point being made. And here's the thing, Konstantin doesn't let him get away with it, not even once. You're going to watch Destiny try every single trick in his playbook, and you're going to watch Konstantin just methodically destroy every single one of them. And the grooming gang section? Oh man, just wait for that. Destiny actually tries to downplay mass rape gangs. Like, seriously, let's get into it.
Over the last 30 years is we now have an extensive number of Islamist terrorist attacks, mass stabbings, mass rape of British girls by Islamist and Muslim grooming gangs. This is not something that happened in this culture before.
Okay, so sexual assault and rape did happen before in
Did you hear the words I said, or did you?
So you said grooming gangs. I know there's the example from the 80s and 90s with the Rotherham.
They're not from the 80s and 90s. They're happening right now.
What is another grooming gang example? Because I know there are rapes and stuff that happen, but I don't think there are.
Yeah, well, let me explain it to you. So grooming gangs, this is a euphemism that we use to pretend that they're not what they are mass rape gangs where young British girls, usually underage, but also often sometimes young women, would be plied with drugs, plied with alcohol, would be taken from the care homes where they were, predominantly by Pakistani, sometimes other Indian subcontinent Muslims. They would be targeted primarily because they were white and British, so these were racially aggravated hate crimes. And they would be mass raped over periods of years sometimes. That did not used to happen in Britain.
So
that is a cultural change. Can I finish what I'm saying, please?
Okay, you're not going to answer my question. Okay.
I am answering your question.
Well, my question was, what are examples? I don't think this has happened outside of the Rotherham grooming gang, that whole scandal. There have been rapes, there have been gang rapes, but the idea of like a coordinated grooming gang type mass Pakistani targeting British girls rapes, that type of thing is not a thing that I'm aware has been seen in Britain outside of the large Rotherham scandal.
So, well, I don't know. I think the fact that somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million British girls might have been raped by these gangs is quite a big deal, and it represents a change in the culture of this country that I think is quite unwelcome.
I never said it wasn't a big deal. I think rape is bad. I just think it's bad when white people do it too. I think it's bad when everybody does it. My understanding is right now for the crime stats in the United Kingdom, it tends to be more white people are even overrepresented in terms of sexual assault and rape, but I'm aware that there are immigrants that rape people as well. I think all rape is bad, but the idea that there is a mass Islamist, jihadist, rape gang-centered thing in the United Kingdom that's functioning,
so
I think
how many girls would have to be raped for you to admit that it's a mass thing?
The question isn't if it's a mass
well,
thing. The question is if it's organized. You have a huge problem with definitions. I'm sorry, let me try to keep this tight. You're not understanding. You're not following the conversation.
Stephen,
rape is bad, but organized grooming gang rape.
You've asked me a lot of questions, and every time I answer them, you ignore my answer. Now answer my question.
Yeah.
Answer my question. If 500,000 girls have been mass raped in this way, specifically being targeted because they were not of a particular religion or ethnicity, how many of them would have to be treated in this way for you to admit that it's a mass thing? What's the number that makes a mass? Answer my
the
question.
Wasn't. I don't know.
The
How you would,
answer
I
is
don't
a
know how you
number.
would identify
Give
a
us a
mass
number.
thing.
Give us a
the question
number.
was organized
Give us a
grooming.
number. You said
500,001. So you're
Okay.
right. You're right beneath the threshold. Maybe tomorrow
Well,
you'll
it's-
have it.
it's actually-
So the question is
it's
there
actually
organized?
between it's half a million
Okay,
and a
so
million.
I'll ramble for a
you've
second, and then
agreed
you
that
can
it's
ramble
mass.
afterwards. Since
So
we're
you
not gonna
agree
go back
that
and
it's
forth.
mass.
My issue is because you guys do this thing over and over again, where you won't accurately identify a problem. You'll invent these things because rape isn't bad enough. Now it has to be like a mass grooming gang rape thing. And then what happens is you conservatives, you play this game where you falsely identify a problem, you lie to the audience about it, and then you manage to gain power. You go through with some wacky scheme. Go figure, the wacky scheme doesn't fix anything, and then somehow you come back with the same recycled narratives over and over again, asking for another shot at it. It's happening right now with Farage and reform. It happened with Brexit. Brexit didn't reduce immigration. It didn't help you with your economy. It didn't do anything really good for the United Kingdom at all. And then it's happening now with reform coming in and making all of these promises to the British people that you're going to be able to cut all of the revenues coming in. You're going to be able to increase all of your funding. You're going to have a no-wait NHS. And it's all built on the same lies over and over again that didn't help you affect any positive outcomes in the past, and it's not going to help you affect any positive outcomes in the future. You can sit here and you can be upset about it, but I watched you and Matt Goodwin debate on stage where you guys both made the bold prediction that once the Tories were out, your immigration numbers would be over 1 million per year. They plummeted to 300,000. I haven't heard you say anything about that. Your predictions were completely wrong, just as they were with Brexit as well.
Okay, so hold on. Did you catch what just happened there? Destiny just tried to pull the classic leftist debate tactic, where you throw out a bunch of rapid-fire accusations, don't let the other person respond, and then act like you won because you talked more. He brings up Brexit. He brings up Matt Goodwin. He brings up immigration predictions. He's throwing everything at the wall, hoping something sticks. And Konstantin just sits there, lets him finish, and then calmly reminds him, I voted Remain. So that entire angle you just tried doesn't apply to me. That's how you handle a bad faith actor, guys. You don't panic, you don't match their energy. You just let them exhaust themselves, and then you dismantle them, piece by piece. But here's what really gets me about Destiny's approach in this whole exchange. He keeps trying to make this about predictions and gotchas instead of addressing the actual substance. Konstantin is talking about 500,000 to 1 million British girls being raped by grooming gangs. And Destiny's response? Well, I only know about Rotherham. Dude, how do you go into a debate about UK immigration and crime and not know that grooming gangs are a nationwide issue that's been documented in Rotherham, Rochdale, Telford, Oxford, Newcastle, Bristol? I could keep going. These aren't isolated incidents. This is a pattern. A systematic pattern of predominantly Pakistani Muslim men targeting white British girls specifically because of their ethnicity and religion. And when Konstantin tries to explain this, Destiny literally interrupts him to say, rape is bad when white people do it too. Like, yeah, no one's arguing that it isn't. But we're talking about a specific phenomenon that didn't exist in Britain before mass immigration from certain countries. That's not racism. That's just observable reality. If you import large numbers of people from cultures with fundamentally different views on women, on consent, on the value of non-Muslim girls, you're going to see new patterns of crime. That's not controversial. That's just cause and effect. And then, and this is my favorite part, Destiny tries to flip it by saying, conservatives always falsely identify a problem and then come back with recycled narratives. Dude, the problem is real. The girls are real. The court cases are real. The convictions are real. This isn't a narrative. This is documented fact. And the reason people keep bringing it up isn't because it's a talking point. It's because the British establishment spent decades covering it up, calling anyone who mentioned it racist, and letting it continue because they were more afraid of being called Islamophobic than they were of British girls being raped. That's the part Destiny doesn't want to talk about. Because if he acknowledges that the grooming gangs are real, that they're widespread, and that they were enabled by the exact kind of multicultural, all cultures are equal ideology he pushes, then his entire worldview collapses. So instead, he plays dumb. I only know about Rotherham. Come on, man. And look, I know you guys watching this already get it. I know you don't need me to explain that importing hundreds of thousands of people from countries where women are treated as property is going to cause problems. But the media and people like Destiny have spent so long gaslighting the British public, telling them it's racist to even notice demographic change, that someone like Konstantin has to sit here and spell it out like he's talking to a child. Let me know in the comments what you think about Destiny's strategy here. Is he genuinely this uninformed about grooming gangs? Or is he just pretending not to know because acknowledging it would destroy his argument?
Well, that was a wonderful presentation. The problem for you is I voted Remain in the referendum.
Because you hadn't been bullied by the Cambridge students yet. I'm aware of the history, but I know.
So you've come here with a bunch of talking points. That's great.
Hold on. We can break down
Stephen,
anything you want.
stop interrupting.
Don't accuse me of having talking points.
Stop
Deal with my
interrupting.
arguments.
Stop interrupting.
Then address what I
Stop
said.
interrupting.
Address what I've said.
Stop interrupting.
Address what I've said.
Stop interrupting.
I believe in you.
Stop interrupting. I let you talk and I let you make your points. Have some respect for me and for my opportunity to express myself as well. That is how a debate is conducted. So stop interrupting. We started this with a conversation about mass immigration, and I gave you the facts on it, and I defined what immigration is, right? Mass immigration. Now, you're talking about culture. I also explained to you what culture is, and I explained it to you by explaining that it's a continuity of certain things, which may also evolve over time. Now, in terms of your point about mass immigration since Brexit, I was not a supporter of Brexit. I didn't think it was necessarily a good idea. And I agree with you that it hasn't reduced immigration. But I don't see how that's relevant to this conversation. We have had mass immigration happen in this country continually over a long period of time, which has changed the country in the way that I gave you. And I gave you a number of examples, like Islamist terrorism, like grooming gangs and other things, which I don't think you're able to address because they counteract the argument that you keep making, which is, well, nothing changes when you bring in 8 million people over 30 years.
Did I say that?
Can I finish, please?
Did I say that?
Can
Why do you
I
have to
finish?
invent
Can I finish,
points?
please?
You just can't address anything.
Can I
say?
finish,
Okay.
please? If I
Pretend it's
interrupted
a
you,
podcast
if I
episode. Go ahead.
interrupted you every
Make up
time you
positions for me.
misrepresent my
Go for
argument,
it.
you'd never talk at
Go
all.
for it. Okay.
So can I finish, please? You made the point that basically what I'm trying to say is, not trying to say, what I'm saying is, when you bring in large numbers of people into a country from a different culture, that will necessarily change the culture. The other thing that I explained to you is, there's been such a large wave of immigration into this country now that has fundamentally changed the sense of British people about the place in which they live. It is affecting the demographic dynamics of major cities in this country and the way people feel about that. But all of those things, the facts that I gave you about immigration, they are what they are. You can think that they're good, you can think that they're bad. That is a separate conversation. The facts are what they are, right? There's also a thing about how British people feel about it. When I came to this country in 1996, 3% of the British public thought that immigration was a major concern. Today, about 65 to 70% of British people say that there are too many immigrants in this country and too many immigrants coming here. Now, I think British people probably have a better idea of how they feel about immigration than you, Stephen, and that is how they feel.
Why do you think over half the British population believes that the majority of the immigrants here today are here illegally, if they've got such a great handle on it or a great idea about what immigration is doing to the country?
The reason that people overestimate immigration is people generally, when asked about things, overestimate pretty much everything or underestimate things terribly because people are not very good with numbers. But the other reason, of course, people aren't able to quote you the exact number of people who
I didn't ask for a quote of the exact number.
You said this earlier, and I'm addressing your broader point, which is why do people misunderstand the immigration statistics? Is that people don't look at immigration as this is the number of people who came this year and this is the number of people who came last year. They look at the reality of their lives, they look at the change they see around them, and what they're really concerned about is the cumulative impact of immigration over the period of their lifetime, which, as I explained to you, has been huge, unprecedented over the last 35 years, and will be even more unprecedented in terms of its cumulative impact over the next 35 years. Now, it's true that immigration has come down to 300 or something thousand in the last year. Doesn't mean it will stay that way, but also I never predicted it would get to 1 million. I think Matt did. But the point I would make is the transformation over a 30-year period is what people actually care about, and which is what they're right to care about. Now, as for the point about illegal immigration, yeah, it's true. Illegal immigration is a smaller percentage of the total immigration that we have than legal immigration, but it's still higher today than it was 35 years ago and 30 years ago, which is way too high. Illegal immigration should be zero.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Konstantin Kisin absolutely demolished Destiny in this debate, and it wasn't even close. Destiny came in with his usual bag of tricks: interrupt constantly, throw out random accusations, deflect to other topics, play dumb about inconvenient facts, and Konstantin just methodically dismantled every single one of them. Here's what Konstantin did right. He stayed calm. He stuck to facts. He didn't let Destiny bait him into emotional reactions. And most importantly, he forced Destiny to either address the actual substance or look ridiculous dodging it. When Destiny tried to minimize grooming gangs, Konstantin asked him directly, how many girls would have to be raped for you to admit it's a mass thing? And Destiny had no answer, because there is no answer that doesn't make him look either ignorant or complicit in downplaying mass rape. And on the broader immigration point, Konstantin's argument is just common sense. If you bring in 8 million people from vastly different cultures over 3 decades, your country is going to change. That's not a value judgment, that's just reality. And the British people know it. 70% of them say there are too many immigrants. They're not stupid. They're not racist. They're just living in the reality that people like Destiny refuse to acknowledge. Destiny wants to talk about Brexit predictions and gotchas because he can't win on the actual substance. He can't defend the grooming gangs. He can't defend the fact that entire British cities have been demographically transformed without the consent of the people who live there. So instead, he plays word games and hopes no one notices. But people are noticing, guys. That's why reform is surging. That's why Farage is back. That's why the Tories got obliterated. Because the British people are done being gaslit about what they can see with their own eyes. If you enjoyed watching Konstantin dismantle Destiny here, make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment letting me know who you think won this debate, even though we all know the answer. And subscribe to MB because this is the kind of content we bring you. Real debates, real facts, no BS. Stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one.